Welcome to Everything Co-op, bringing you information on how cooperatives can help improve your quality of life. This show is being sponsored by the National Co-op Bank, NCB. The NCB is dedicated to strengthening communities nationwide for the delivery of banking and financial services for the nation's cooperatives, their members, and other socially responsible organizations. For more information on the power of community ownership, visit ncb.coop. That's ncb.coop. Now stay tuned for your host, Vernon Oakes.
Good morning, everybody. This is Vernon Oakes. Welcome to Everything Co-op this beautiful, wonderful Thursday morning. And we have Miss Carla Decker on the phone. Good morning, Miss Decker.
Good morning. How are you?
I am fantastic. And you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Great. So you're with the District Government Employees Federal Credit Union.
Yes, I'm happy to say that we have rebranded in January, so now it's easier. It's actually just DC Credit Union.
Okay, that's okay. I can say that easier.
Yes.
Okay. And how long have you been with them?
Since 2001. I joined the credit union after having a career with two previous credit unions here local in the district as well.
So you've been there 17 years. 17
years. It's been a good 17 years.
So why don't you tell people what a credit union is and what you all do?
Sure. So a credit union is a cooperative that offers financial services. The credit union is owned by the consumers who actually bank with us, so we do not have any outside investors. Our primary focus and investment is in our member owners. And the credit unions provide the whole gamut of financial services, from savings, checking accounts to, all types of loans, credit cards, mortgages. And so a consumer can gain access to both affordable and safe financial services through a credit union.
You just said something I like. A credit union is owned by the customer, the people that. It's just like if I had my checking account with a bank, then I would own a part of that bank.
Exactly.
Oh, neat. I like the way that sounds. I've known that a long time, but the way you said it sort of rang. Neat. So just real quickly, for those of you that don't know what a co-op is, it depends on who owns and controls a co-op. There are four basic types. If it's owned and controlled by the employees, it's called a worker cooperative. If it's owned and controlled by the people that buys the services or the products, it's called a consumer cooperative. And credit unions are consumer cooperatives because it's owned and controlled by the members that bank there and get loans there. Another type of consumer co-op is a housing cooperatives, but it could be any type. There's Carla, there is a health clinic in Madison, Wisconsin that's owned by the patients.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. And then they set up all the policies. So it's patient-centric.
Sure.
Not on money-centric or doctor-centric or investor-centric. Everything is sort of focused on what's needed for the patient. So the same thing for your credit union. It's all focused on what are the needs for the customer, the client, the people that bank there.
Exactly.
And the other two quickly types of co-ops is if it's a purchasing co-op and farmers and artists are doing this, they get together and they buy their fertilizer, their feed, or if artists are beginning to get warehouse space together such that they can get more for lesser price and perhaps even better. And on the other end is marketing co-ops, and that's farmers and artists and other people would come together and market their products or services. And by the same token, they can get to more markets and get a better price. And Carla, another really great thing I've learned in this program is artists will come together and form a co-op. And as you know, most artists, they feast or famine. And so what they're beginning to do is look at different ways that they could spread out the income. If artist A is making money this month, but B isn't, then they share the money, where B might be making money next month and A isn't. And I just think that's phenomenal because that's what happens with artists. It's up or down kind of a world. So they're trying to spread that out so they can have consistent income. So that's what co-ops are about. Great. Who owns and controls it? and we're talking about a DC credit union, the employees. Now, who can be members of DC Credit Union?
So the credit union was originally formed by district government employees, and so the original group that can join the credit union are DC government employees, even retirees, and their family members. More recently, though, we have expanded to include a community charter. So folks who live, work, worship in Ward 1, for instance. We've also have a number of select group employers. And so, for instance, employees of BET, and then some associations as well, including members of CASA. So
what's CASA?
CASA is an organization that is headquartered right there in Langley Park. And they do advocacy for immigrants, but also workforce development, financial literacy, all sorts of services that help immigrants assimilate into the U.S. life, but also the economy.
And why Ward 1? I'm in Ward 7, so I want Ward 7 too.
Okay.
Well, but why Ward 1? Is that where you're located? Is that where your branches are?
Yeah, this is really interesting. So would you mind if I just spend a couple minutes talking about the history of the credit union?
Yeah.
Great. So the credit union is formed in the 50s because DC government employees were having a really difficult time accessing affordable credit. So the employees band together. They form this credit union. They invest their monies in it, and so the credit union over the years grows and becomes very closely aligned, obviously, to the interest of its member owners, these DC government employees. As public servants, they're very interested in everything that has to do with ensuring that the district becomes a strong community and that people have opportunities. And so it's more or less in the late 90s, early 2000s when another credit union nearby that was formed to basically provide services to Latino immigrants. The credit union is in need of help and merges into our credit union, and that is why Ward 1 comes into play, because we sort of acquired this charter. Well, we have recognized over the years that sort of the needs of the community change. And in the early 2000s, the needs very much were in ensuring that immigrants, particularly Latinos, but really any immigrant, was able to also have access to, financial services. Many of them were disenfranchised because of language or documentation. And so our credit union then begins offering bilingual services, begins offering accounts to attained holders, and a whole gamut of products that would benefit and be responsive to the needs of those immigrants. Time continues to pass. More recently, a group that is in need of financial services are young people, particularly those with either a first job, needing a place to get their paychecks, needing access to those funds, needing to establish credit, build credit, and so forth. And so the credit union has grown from being simply an employer base to being more of an open bond type of organization. Now, we are both a community development financial institution as well as designated with recognition in serving both low-income individuals and serving and being owned by minorities. And so sort of our mission of financial inclusion has continued to evolve. So in answer to your question, the long answer is we have evolved. Yes, it is Ward 1 specifically as a geography that we serve, but by virtue of our affiliation with the district, we also serve those individuals who find themselves as underserved or who don't have a banking relationship but would benefit from a banking relationship. So this is a partnership. It's a public-private partnership that is called Bank on DC. So we serve anyone who would benefit from access to a financial institution through this partnership as well. So it's a very complicated bond, but needless to say, it is a large bond. There are many ways in which individuals who are interested in being engaged and benefiting from the credit union services to actually join our credit union.
So what I got out of all of that, and you put it together nicely, is that DC Credit Union one day will be for anybody that works and lives in D.C.
Yes, that is the objective.
All right. Got it. Clearly got it. So you mentioned products. No, but before we go to products, do you like what you're doing?
I love what I do. I am actually an immigrant. I grew up in Peru when we were under a military dictatorship. And as a young person, I remember not having much of hope in the future. I remember our choices being very limited as they related to educational opportunity, but also just, being able to have a safe place to live and a happy home.
Now, is that in Peru or once you got here, or both?
That's in Peru.
Okay.
So I immigrated here. I was somebody fortunate. I came to college here, and when I started looking for a job, I found a credit union. I was not purposely looking to work at a credit union, but once I started at a credit union, I realized that I was doing more than simply providing financial transactions.
Okay, can I stop you a little bit? Because
absolutely.
I want to get this story. So can you tell me what year did you came to the U.S. for education for college? That's how you came here?
Yes.
So your rest of your family, your parents, sisters, brothers, cousins, whatever, were still in Peru at that time?
That is correct.
Where did you go to school?
I went to school in Beloit, Wisconsin.
Where?
Beloit, Wisconsin. It's about an hour and a half west of Chicago.
Hour and a half west of Chicago.
Yes.
Okay.
It's right on the border between Illinois and Wisconsin.
Okay, and then I've driven through it because
cool.
I've gone up that way, and then where do I end up at? Not Madison, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I go up to Milwaukee, and then okay, all right. So you come here to go to college. What year is that?
So I come here in 83.
1983. Did you get scholarship or write a check?
So I got a partial scholarship. It was a very generous scholarship.
Fantastic. And your first job was, let's try this credit union.
That's right.
Here or in Wisconsin?
Here in D.C.
Okay. All right. So that's about 1987?
It's actually 1988.
Okay. All right. So you're here in D.C. in a credit union. And by the way, we're going to take our first break in a minute here.
Okay.
So you just came for a job, and then you found out it was more than a job, more than banking.
That's correct.
Okay. In a minute, can you tell me what that was that you found out?
Yes. It was about really helping people achieve whatever their dreams might be.
That didn't take a minute. Helping people achieve their dreams.
Helping people achieve their dreams. It was all about people helping people.
Okay.
Truly.
We're going to come right back and talk about helping people achieve their dreams. We'll be right back. Please don't touch that dial.
Washington, D.C.'s News Talk, 1450 AM WOL and 95.9 FM.
Welcome back, everybody. The National Cooperative Bank is the one that sponsors this program. The NCB's mission is to support and be an advocate for America's cooperatives and their members, especially in low-income communities, by providing innovative financial and related services. And we have Carla Decker who's the president and executive director of D.C. Credit Unions. And they seem to have a similar, without her telling me their mission, they have a similar kind of mission as NCB. But she said they help people achieve their dreams. So that's why you love doing what you do. I've asked you that earlier. Is that right?
That is correct, yes.
So you're a magician, help people achieve their dreams. How do you do that?
How do we do that?
Yeah.
So we are concerned about people first and foremost. From the get-go, when people join the credit union, when people come to open a bank account, we know that people don't just open a bank account for the sake of it. They are they want to do something with that money. If it's to live paycheck to paycheck and be more comfortable doing so, then there we are. We have the tools to do that. If it's because they want to purchase something, leverage a little bit of their savings, access credit, then we're there for them. If it's something that is, bigger, maybe they're thinking about their family, raising kids and being able to send them to college and ensuring that those kids have a better life, we're there as well. So people have aspirations, and they're typically long-term aspirations. And so for us, it's about understanding our members, getting to know our members, and then sort of journeying with our members through, this life of saving, of borrowing, of getting things done, and ultimately, achieving a safe and productive life for themselves and their families.
And how do you? I'm on your webpage, DC Credit Union, and it says personal, small business, who we are, learn and grow.
Yes.
And it says the things that you just talked about: rebuild your credit, make a major purchase, save and plan for the future, manage your debt and finances, protect yourself from fraud, calculations, and financial seminars. What do you do in financial seminars?
In financial seminars, we typically work with community-based organizations that are interested in providing some, sort of financial education to their own constituents, to their own group of people. And so we will partner with these organizations and then develop curriculum that is applicable to their objectives and their goals. So it can be anything from, for instance, young people understanding what a bank account is all about, being able to compare different types of bank accounts, identify what are the features of an account and how to use it responsibly. To sometimes we have groups that serve elderly folks, and they're interested in having us speak about how to maintain their accounts safe and secure, how to ensure that they have access, if something were to happen to them, and things of that nature. So it's the whole gamut of education that relates to just how to handle and how to manage your money, but also how to manage a banking relationship.
If Chuck Snyder is still trying to do this, he was trying to figure out the last time I talked with him how he could and who he could hook up with. Chuck Snyder is the president of NCB, for those of you out there that don't know. He was trying to figure out how he could get financial literacy in the D.C. public schools.
That's a big one.
And who could he team up with to do that, because it is big.
Yes.
And it might be the credit unions. It might be, because I'm looking on your webpage, you said you go into classrooms.
We sure do.
Offices.
We sure do. And let me tell you this. We are only one of two financial institutions that provide bank accounts to the young people who participate in the Summer Youth Employment Program managed by the city. And so these are young people ages 14 to 24. Many of them, this is their first job. It's a summer internship. They are receiving wages, and we provide banking services for those youth. So everything from accepting that direct deposit to giving them access to their accounts via a debit card, so they can purchase. They can access money at an ATM, but they can also purchase at merchants. They can pay for their things online if they're buying online, and then we grow the account with the young people, so that if they need tuition assistance, then we have private student loans. If they need a first car or they need a credit card as they go to college or start a new job, that we are also there for them. So we grow these accounts, we step up these accounts to become a little bit more complex as the young person grows. So yes, very much invested in ensuring that young people have access to bank accounts and obviously also have access to financial education, which is so important to couple with that first bank account in order for the account really to be beneficial to the youth.
I personally want to know the answer to this question, but do you teach them, do you have available a software package? I used to use Quicken back in the DOS days. but it seemed like it's gotten more complicated when I try to go back and use it. So I'm looking for something. Well, do you have such a software that would tell them what they have in their, would dump in all of the checks that they've written or all of the debits that they had so they'll see what the money's gone and how much they have at any given time?
So our online banking tool, actually, it's pretty comprehensive, and it'll do something akin to that, where it will tell them where their money is going, whether it's for entertainment or travel or things of that nature. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Fascinating. So let's talk about product right now.
Sure.
On your webpage, it talked about you can buy a loan for 1.99% interest.
Yes. That's on a car loan.
Yeah.
Yes. So the rates are very competitive because remember that we don't have outside investors. So our earnings can be returned back to our members in the form of dividends on their savings, but also on lower rates on loans and lower fees.
So you've got car loans. Suppose I wanted to buy a computer.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to borrow $1,000. What they've come down on, I can probably do it for $500 now. But
yes, probably.
Yeah, okay, so if I wanted to come in for $1,000 loan to buy something, what do you have to go through to get a loan?
So you can actually just apply online, and we will process your application that way. Typically, for a small loan, what we're asking for is to get to know you. So we will want to know where you're employed, how much money you make. If you have the time, we want to have a conversation with you just to find out, like, what is it you need this computer for, and what are you doing in life, and, what are we planning for? We talked about, really getting to know our members, and so that's sort of the conversation that takes place at the time. But if you don't have time and you just want to buy the computer, then you can just do it online. You can submit your pay stub, and off you go. Yeah, we will try to make sure that we understand whether, it's just the one transaction that you need. So is it just the one computer? And more than likely a personal loan would do for that. If you are buying one computer but plan on buying another computer later on because you have a small business or, whatever the situation may be, then there might be a product that is more appropriate, whether it's a line of credit or a credit card. So we want to have those conversations in order to be able to match you to the best product.
So I am a 35-year-old person. I've got $35,000 of debt. A lot of it is credit card debt at high interest, and I have $50,000 of student loans. Do you have anybody that works with me that help me to figure out what's the best strategies to sort of get out of debt? And my credit score is 620.
Well, your credit score is probably 620. You probably pay all your debts, but you are probably using so much debt that's why your credit score is 620.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we will work with you. We don't have a magic solution that will immediately, get rid of this debt. So obviously, it would be a proposition by which we draft a plan together, something that is realistic, and then help you basically budget so that you're paying this debt in a way that takes advantage of the lowest interest rate that is available to you, but also takes advantage of our knowledge as financial people. Mm-hmm. So that at some point you can be debt free, because I think that's the
goal. Yeah,
that's probably the goal.
We've got to take our next break. You love what you're doing. You help people meet their dreams, and you have these products at lower interest rates to help them to do that, and you also give them knowledge. When we come back, I want to talk about the values and principles of a cooperative to see how you all use these values and principles. You've talked about people put in money and they can get money back with dividends. You've talked about training, so we'll come back and talk about those principles when we get back. You love what you do. Been here since 1983.
Yes.
So are your parents still in Peru? If you could.
Yes, my mother's still in Peru.
Okay. All right, then. We'll be right back. Please don't touch the dial.
Washington, D.C.'s News Talk, 1450 AM WOF and 95.9 FM.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Vernon Oaks. The program is Everything Cooperative, and Ms. Carla Decker, the President and Executive Director of DC Credit Union, is our guest today. Carla, our webpage is everything.coop. This program will be edited in the next week or two, and then it will be uploaded there, and people could go get this. But also, I have your webpage is dccreditunion.coop.
Yes.
Ours is everything.coop. So if you wanted to find out about DC Credit Union, it used to be DC Federal Employees Credit Union.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It was District Government Employees, but it was a mouthful, okay. Yes.
Then you can go on and look and see. Now, small business. You have small businesses can join. What's the criteria for small? We talked about the individuals that could join, who can join now. But what's the criteria for small businesses to join?
So we're still growing our small business offerings. Currently, the small businesses that are either owned by our current members or small businesses that are located within our community charter, which is Ward 1. Those businesses can join the credit union. We have, for the most part, community-based organizations that join the credit union at the moment, and that is why we're still learning and certainly have an aspiration to have a portfolio of small business accounts, including credit.
Yeah, the reason I ask because I do run a small business. I run a property management company, and that's how I started. I learned 25 years ago about housing co-ops, and then the more I learned about co-ops, the more I love it for all of the reasons you've already talked about.
Yep.
Plus some others. But again, we're in Ward 7, so we got to get you moving over.
Well, so that you know, one of our strategic objectives is to establish a branch in Southeast DC, and we've talked about wanting to be the credit union that can serve anyone in the district, and so we continue to move towards that objective, and so soon, hopefully, you would be able to just join the credit union.
I was thinking about me and my employees, because
absolutely
they're not in Ward 1 right now or a DC employee, and most credit unions have some reason for existence, and it can only get certain members. And so there's no way that my employees right now, a lot of them, there's no way that they can become a member unless they have a family member that's already in.
So, Vernon, I misunderstood your question. So as an employer, you actually can join the credit union, as in our credit union, and you as your employer, you as the employer can modify our charter so that your employees, your organization can actually be part of the credit union. As a result, you would be able to then extend membership to the credit union as an employment benefit. And all of your employees would be able to have access to all of the services that we offer.
All right. So you're saying that Oaks Management is the name of the company, property management company.
Okay.
We then can join DC Credit Union?
So what we would do is we, together, Oaks Management and our credit union, we would go to our federal regulator and amend the credit union's charter to include Oak Management as part of the field of membership.
Oh, neat. So
yeah.
That means that any small business could do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, that answers my question. There's a way of doing it. And then any employee from Oaks Management then can become a member because Oaks Management's a charter.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Okay.
It's great news, isn't it?
It is. It really is. Because you can help my employees reach their dreams. And I got a couple of them that got children, and they want to take them to college. They need savings, and they really need training on how to manage money. And they don't listen to me too well. So,
well, I'm sure they listen to you well, but probably not about their own personal finances. And that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. And so, we can fill in that gap. We can take on that role.
Yes. Okay. So we could get small business in. We can do that. I'm just so excited here. I've lost words.
Well, so if you go to our website, one of the things that we really love about it is that we do focus on people first, and we share our own members' stories in our website because we believe that our members have achieved a lot and have gone through, in some instances, difficult journeys, and it is usually by sort of learning about other people's experiences that you can be inspired to then really think about how you can achieve your own goals and aspirations. So that's another thing that we very much highlight prominently in our website.
So just for you all to know, go to the website, and that's dccreditunion.coop, and then I went who we are, and under who we are, there's something in our community called Member Stories. And then there's our member partners, and I'm going to be checking with you to become a partner here.
Please do.
And there's stories about Sherry, Dejanay, Edward.
Edward, yes.
He bought his first car.
Yes.
Yes, Kelly. Okay.
And there's also a story about a young lady who bought her first home, and her first home actually happened to be in a housing co-op.
Okay. Now, that was a great journey into what I wanted to talk about. The sixth principle is cooperation. For those of you that don't know, there's 7 co-op principles that most co-ops are under and follow, and there's also values. The sixth principle is cooperation among cooperatives. So working and getting a customer to buy into a housing co-op is one way of doing it. What other ways do you work with other cooperatives in the city?
So for the most part, we work with other credit unions. Clearly, we do work with housing co-ops in terms of providing financing, but when it comes to working directly with others in the district, it's typically through other credit unions. So, for instance, we worked with 2 credit unions that were very adept at serving Latinos before we ventured into opening a branch in Mount Pleasant. We wanted to make sure that we availed ourselves of all of the experience that was out there, and that we were ready to go with very culturally sensitive products, but also approaches to service. So that's one way. We work with other cooperatives in the sense, again, credit unions, in the sense that we participate in loans, for instance. So, for instance, if a credit union has excess liquidity, maybe their members don't need to borrow as much because of their own demographics, and we do, then we are willing basically to share some of the funding of our member loans with others, so that other credit union and other credit union members can also benefit. We also provide shared branching services, which means that our branch in Mount Pleasant, for instance, is open to any credit union member. So you don't have to be a member of DC Credit Union. You can be a member of any credit union and come to our branch and basically receive services. So that's how we work locally. And then in the national and international levels, we work by volunteering in organizations that assist cooperatives on a broader basis.
So Herb Fisher, who is an attorney out of Chicago, he's retired now and lives in Florida, but he wrote me and asked me to ask you, what can credit unions do to invite housing cooperatives to join and bring their business accounts, their savings accounts, which is called replacement reserves, and have their members, the people that belong in the housing co-ops, be members of the credit union?
Yes, so we have housing co-ops that are actually in our field of membership. And the best thing that we can do is really to understand that we, both credit unions and housing co-ops, share the same principles. We have the same objectives. To find each other is, I think, the hardest part. Once that connection is made, once that introduction is made, then there are so many ways, as you described, that we can work together. So for us, for instance, it's understanding where the housing co-ops that are in the district, how do they assemble themselves, how do they organize themselves, how to reach out to them. in our case, the best way to connect is with either the board of directors of the housing co-op or with the property managers in the housing co-op, who can then make the introduction to the board of directors. But once the two cooperatives meet, it's easier going from there. I would suggest that there are some credit unions that are not maybe accustomed or don't have a track record of providing financing for cooperatives, and that there are organizations like the National Cooperative Business Association that can help guide just how the financing works. And actually, NCB, it's also a great resource to assist credit unions also in better understanding just what does it entail to actually lend to both the housing cooperative, but also the consumers who are buying units in the housing co-op.
Okay. I thought you were going to answer it let me say it to you a different way. I belong to a 57-unit co-op in D.C. We have very financially solid. Let's say we could put in a savings account into your credit union of $300,000 tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we could put some money to help you build up your asset. Matter of fact, what is your asset base now?
It is $60 million.
$60 million.
Yes.
Good. Okay. We're going to help you grow it to $1 billion. Okay. Okay. So you can provide more services.
Absolutely.
So we could put some money in right away, but I thought you were going to say we would have to, it's called East Capitol Gardens Cooperative in Ward 7 on the northeast side, and we would apply, just like Oaks Management, you said earlier, would apply and get attached to the field.
Yes.
And then the members of East Capitol Gardens could become members also. Is that possible?
Yes, that is possible.
That would be wonderful. Now, the co-op has two units to be sold right now. One of them is a 2-bedroom for $150,000. This is a market rate co-op, and another one is a 2-bedroom larger for $170,000. They've both been totally renovated. Gated community right beside. This is all commercial, by the way. Right beside the Benning Road Metro stop. Balconies, phenomenal. I mean, everybody that come loves them, but it's getting the share loan. Mm-hmm. That's what's been difficult.
Yep.
So it's like how we might be able to work out some way of getting a share loan thing going also. Okay.
And absolutely, by the way, we already have established relationships, just like you mentioned. So the housing cooperative becomes, we jointly go to the regulator. We amend our charter so that the housing co-op, regardless of where it's located, can then be a part of the credit union, and all of its members be a part of the credit union. And so when there are vacancies and there are individuals who are trying to come into the cooperative, typically they will need financing.
Okay, we got to take the break, and we'll come right back and finish this. Okay.
Sure.
I'm anxious to hear it. Okay, thank you. We'll be right back.
Washington, D.C.'s News Talk, 1450 AM WOL and 95.9 FM.
Information is power. And getting a lot of information today from Ms. Carla Decker, who is the president of D.C. Credit Union. But the information by itself is no power. It's like having a gallon of gasoline in a container. There's no power with that gasoline sitting there. It's not until you put something to it, some action, some kind of striking it, and then it becomes very, very powerful. With information, it has to be the same way. You have to put some action to it. You have to do something with the information. So we encourage you to join a credit union. You can get to DC Credit Union by all of the ways that Carla's talking about, dccreditunion.coop. Go and see about joining or getting into a housing co-op, or REI is here now. It is a consumer cooperative too, who sells outdoor gear. That's right here in the district. So join, look for co-ops, buy from them. Ace Hardware is a co-op, and Gina Schaefer, their general manager, have been on the program a couple of times. And Carla, we're going to get you back. I already know it right now. You have a lot of information, and I cannot tell you how excited I am, because I've been having this conversation within the National Association of Housing Co-ops for at least 15 years of how we can get closer with credit unions to this cooperation among cooperatives, because it seems like it's a natural fit.
It sure is. It really is. I think, credit unions are very interested in ensuring that there is affordable housing. I think cooperatives are the key to providing access to affordable housing, particularly in a high cost of living city like Washington, D.C. And so working together where we do what we do best, which is to finance, and housing cooperatives do what they do best, which is to create homeownership opportunities. I think that link is just natural and can be so successful and impactful.
Absolutely. To really help communities grow. But it's urban or rural, because rural need affordable housing just as much as. So, yeah, people do.
Yes.
Know. All right. And my favorite quote that I've learned on this radio program is Dame Pauline Green, who was the president of International Cooperative Alliance, says that co-ops help people to come out of poverty with dignity. And
absolutely.
Getting financing, getting housing, they are so critical to raising a family. So, yeah, it's a natural. So co-ops, the first principle is volunteer and open membership. So yours is not quite open in terms of to everybody. You have defined areas, but it's open, not regard to gender or social, racial, political, religious, or anything like that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's not even age. Okay. You can go down to 14 years old. What? Democratic member control. The members are the ones that control the business.
That is correct. Yes. So we elect a board of directors from the membership. The membership participates in an annual meeting, and it is the board that sets the policies of the credit union.
So the members are the ones that have the ultimate control, but they utilize that control by voting for, either running for to be on the board and or voting for board members.
That is correct.
Okay. Then there's member economic participation. You pay in, and if there are dividends or profits or surplus, whatever you call them, you can get that back in different ways. And the board, the members could set the overall policy, but board also set that policy, and then you and other folks implement. So is that right? They have member economic participation.
Absolutely. That is correct. The same consumers who are banking with us, they are keeping their savings here, taking their loans out, so they are participating in the business of the credit union, and the benefit or the returns that are generated from that business are returned in the form of benefits to those members, as you mentioned, whether it's through the dividends, through the interest rates that we charge on loans, lower fees on transactions and other types of things. But sort of the engine, it is the economic participation of our members.
So it doesn't cost you anything to join. You don't have to put in $100 or $1,000 to join, but you do have to put some money into a credit and or savings account.
That is correct. You put $5 into a share account.
$5?
$5. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we want to make sure that it's accessible to everybody.
I got it. Okay. Cinco dineros. Okay. Okay. So autonomous and independent. So that says that the cooperative members must be able to control the business. So you can't have a government entity controlling it, nor if you borrow money, that whoever you borrow money for cannot control it. It has to be the members. Is that the way you are run too?
That is the way that we are run as well, yes. We're an independent entity. We're a private corporation.
The fifth one is education, training, and information. One of the reasons that I love cooperatives. So how do you've talked a little bit about training your members or organizations, classrooms about financials, but how do you get people trained up about what a co-op is and how it functions?
That's a really good question. So typically we have different ways of communicating with our members through newsletters, through our website, and so we attempt at every turn to ensure that we are creating awareness for the fact that this is a cooperative and ensuring that our members understand how they can participate in that cooperative, how they can lead the cooperative as well, and what opportunities they have. We also do that at our annual membership meeting, where we invite all of our members to come together to not only hold elections, but also to ensure that they hear from our volunteer leaders, from our staff, and that they have an opportunity or a venue in which they can ask questions and get clarifications to any material or any information that they have received. And then education, it's for our members, but also for our volunteers and our staff, to ensure that we maintain this cooperative culture that we have built, in ensuring that it also has longevity. And I've talked a bit about youth. One of our interests, obviously, is in ensuring that that the next generation is also ready to benefit from this cooperative model that we have.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. So you do have education. You do.
We do, yes.
We've already talked about cooperation among cooperatives, and there's just a number of different ways of doing that. And you're right in the center of helping your clients, your customers, the people that bank with you achieve their dreams. And you can help different organizations, different communities. You have played a big part of helping communities solve their problems, particularly where money is involved.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And that is our mission as a community development financial institution, which I think gets back to the last principle.
The seventh one is concern for community, and that's the whole reason for the credit union.
That's correct. That's our reason for being.
The values are self-help, and I like that people help themselves, not looking for a handout, maybe a hand up sometimes, but self-help, self-responsibility, democracy, equality, equity, and solidarity, working together. And what I like is in the tradition of the founders of cooperative members believe in the ethical values of honesty, openness, social responsibility, and caring for others. And in the district, I really wish we could get these principles of honesty, openness, social responsibility, and caring for others on the Hill, on the Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., our Congress people and the White House, if we could get that training. I love these values.
And they truly are, guiding values. They're values that our staff hold dearly, but also our volunteer leaders and by extension, really all of our members as well. I think that individuals who have these values then find that working with a cooperative, banking at a credit union, then make a lot of sense. And that ultimately the concern truly is one that goes beyond the individual, and it expands to the concern for all of those around you, your family, your neighborhoods, and your communities.
Carla, I had a lady on last week from Finland. And Finland this year got number one position in being the happiest country in the world. And they've been in the top 5 or 6 now for quite some years, but they're number one. And she really believed that part of it is because 25% of the households in Finland are in cooperatives.
Oh, very cool.
And that these values is what makes people happy, is really caring for each other, caring for the community. And so there's another benefit I had never thought about that co-ops can bring to a community. Just people be happy, like you. I love what I do. So that's phenomenal. We only have another minute left, and so what would you like to leave people with?
I would like to ask people to become informed about cooperatives and credit unions in particular, perhaps my credit union as well. But I think credit unions truly do provide just a solid local alternative to major banks, and that ultimately where you bank should be as concerned about your money as it should be about you and your family, and that's what credit unions provide. And so I hope that while we do have rules around field of membership, that people do understand that our credit union is open, that we can work with folks to ensure that people can gain access to the credit union, and that ultimately our aspiration truly is to be the credit union for DC, for a better DC.
Thank you, Better DC. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you next Thursday, and please live cooperatively, and I'm going to be calling you, Carla.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Washington, D.C.'s News Talk, 1450 AM WOF and 95.9